Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hopefully, there are people there for us for this live chat. Indeed, as I thought, with this event coming up on, well, 8 days' time now in
Next Friday.
Sheffield. Yes, not next Friday, that's tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes, it's not
Yes.
next
A week
Friday, it's
tomorrow.
next Friday
8 days.
week. To be all
Yeah.
posh about it. Yes, I've decided to be all nice and have a chat with Chaos Bleak, who are set to come and join us. So I suppose we'd
Two
better.
thirds of Chaos Bleak.
Well, two-thirds of Chaos Bleak, to be fair.
Yeah.
The important ones, obviously. And whoever wants to chat with the bass player, and it's just
I
that,
wanted Justin to come, but he couldn't come.
I feel sorry for I couldn't remember Justin's name earlier. I'm so sorry, Justin. Yeah. Anyway, so
He couldn't make it tonight because he's got some else on. Otherwise, he'd have been here
yeah, it would have been nice to have had him really, but
solo.
anyway, so thank you, Piers and Trevor. That's Piers there
Thanks, Darren, for having us.
with glasses on, and Trevor you can identify because he's got glasses on.
I'm the
Yeah,
one with white streak in my hair and glasses on.
I'm the
Pierce-
one with the white streak in my hair.
yeah, and
Glasses.
Trevor is the one with the goatee beard, and oh damn it, oh yeah, Trevor's the one with the hat. But you should be able to see on the screen anyway. There's the names there, and obviously I'm Derek Anthony Williams of Jandor Band, and also run Night Shift. So we need to get down to brass tacks, as the saying goes, and let's have a chat about what Chaos Bleak is. So I mean, I could describe them as an anti-funk mega lowrider slow jam band, but that would be entirely inappropriate. So I'll let you.
T-shirts, if that were the case.
I'll let you take it away and describe yourselves to the adoring audience we have here.
Gosh, I don't know.
I
Piers,
think we're just loud bastards.
a Black Sabbath for the Gothic generation. That's
Yeah.
what somebody said about us. They said that we were a Black Sabbath for the goth generation, which I kind of go along with.
I think
The
that's
most recent
definitely
review
about
we've
right.
had, they said that I got impossible sounds out of my guitar. So I suppose we're kind of like a Black Sabbath for the Gothic generation that generates impossible sounds out of my guitar.
Yeah, I'd go with that. Yeah, we're kind of proto-goth, I suppose I would describe us at. So we sort of took well, a lot of bands follow the template that the Sisters set. Nothing wrong with that.
Mm.
We are taking a different approach. So for us, it's like, what if Play Dead with a template?
Mhm.
So we're looking at that kind of sound rather than that sort of regimented sound that the Sisters had. We instead have our own regimented sort of sound instead.
Oh, definitely. I mean, thing is,
And
most
speaking of
bands,
Sisters
well,
of
all
Mercy,
bands are the. Sorry.
Speaking
Oh,
of Sisters of Mercy, I'm
All right, bless you.
wearing the t-shirt.
Most bands are just the sum total of their influences, to be fair. And I think that that's really the fairest thing to say about Chaos Bleak is that, I mean, I think that the common influences that all three of us have got is like Play Dead and Killing Joke, and a 90s goth. And I think that really that Chaos Bleak is a reflection of those two things. It's kind of the programming and the sort of sequencing and the harmonies of 90s goth, because we're all basically from 90s goth bands, or we're active in the 90s one way or the other. And obviously the other influence is Killing Joke and Play Dead. So we've skipped out all of that Sisters of Mercy influence, really. Not that there's anything against that. I mean, because I really like Sisters, but the music I want to play is a bit more harder and a bit more electronic at the same time.
I'd definitely say, from my experience, you verge a little more on the metal side of things, and I think you can definitely hear a sort of Killing Joke style element. So, what was it that made you form Chaos Bleak when you'd already got, say, Death Party UK, for example, Trevor?
Oh, all that is that Piers and I were in Arcane Winter, which is a band that we formed after the end of Midnight Configuration. And basically, various things happened with Arcane Winter. Arcane Winter was put on pause for a long period of time. And Piers and I were patient. And then basically, after about 2 years, we just decided that we wanted to get back and started doing something again. But we wanted to do a version of Arcane Winter, but add more programming and more sequences and electronics going on. And so what happened was we met in a pub like we often do anyway, and decided on this particular day that we were going to restart stuff. And it was initially, we weren't sure if it was going to be Arcane Winter 2 or something else. And in the end, what happened is that Nick, the old bass player from Arcane Winter, didn't join us at meeting that particular day. So Piers and I said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll look for another bass player. And we put an advert out on Facebook, and our old mate Justin applied, which we were over the moon about because he was number one for us anyway, but we didn't realise he was available.
Our shortlist.
Oh, yeah. And he was number one, wasn't he? I mean, we kind of, and we were so pleased when he said he wanted to do it. So, because I knew that he'd understand where we were coming from, and he's got loads and loads of Play Dead influences on bass that he wanted to do, and so it was basically.
It was in 13 Candles as well. So, I mean,
yeah,
one of my favourite bands of all time.
Totally. I mean, like I say, it was one of those things where we kind of were really pleased that he came forward because he's a mate, which we had no idea that he was available. So, Derek, that's basically it. We decided that we were going to get together, and I decided that I wanted to, because another thing was with Death Party and everything, that was a very stripped back sort of project, and I wanted to do something that was different but more involved using sequences and samples and whatever else, and still keep Death Party going. And so Chaos Bleak kind of evolved from that, really.
So you'd been involved in Arcane Winter before that then, Piers. Was that there's a vocal role in that band as well?
Yeah. So I did the vocals, the visuals, and the lyrics in Arcane Winter. It was great fun. I've been in other bands as the vocalist and a lyricist in the past, but the first time working with Trev in that role, I spent some time in Midnight Configuration, playing the keyboards, because why not?
Yeah.
Did a bit of vocals and stuff in the background. Played on some various album tracks as well. So I kind of. Yes, I was very keen to get back onto that horse, I suppose.
You need some backing. Sorry, you blipped out and said you need some backing vocals for Midnight Configuration live towards the end of the band's period.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the last gig we did in Nottingham, you did backing vocals then.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember.
Yeah.
Which is where you're from, in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah, we're the Nottingham lads.
Yeah, well, one of us is.
Well, yeah, actually. None of us are really, because I'm from somewhere else originally, but I've lived in Nottingham most of my life. Justin doesn't live in Nottingham at all, and Piers was from somewhere else before he came to Nottingham. But...
Exactly, I'm from Oxford. So, for those who don't know, Nottingham's a very strange place. It's very much, there are lots of people who are born and bred in Nottingham, and there's lots of people who've come to live in Nottingham. So it's a real melting pot of people and influences. I remember Trev and I, we were sat in a pub once, and literally every other person was from Nottingham, and every other person was from somewhere else.
Yeah,
and so you see how strange Nottingham is. You want to watch our video, the video we did for Funeral in Berlin. That's how strange Nottingham is.
And I suppose university towns will tend to get that sort of thing quite a bit anyway.
Yeah, it's a fantastic city, definitely.
There used to be a sign on the way into Nottingham back in the 90s, and it just said, "Welcome to Nottingham." Somebody wrote underneath, "The City of Bastards."
I'm sure that's entirely inappropriate.
The City of Bastards,
I've always found Nottingham a lovely place to go and perform in anyway. There's always been an enthusiastic crowd there. Place. So is there anything sort of lyrically different that you bring to Chaos Bleak rather than Arcane Winter, Piers?
No, it's all about politics, murder, girls, and Italian giallo films. That's pretty much fine.
But also ghosts and monsters,
ghosts
and demons as well.
It's honestly, for all us saying we wanted to sort of rewrite the script about what a goth band should be, it's ghosts, it's girls, it's the traditional stuff, but with a difference bit.
And girl ghosts,
politics,
and politics,
a bit of politics. What's your most political song then?
Girl ghost is perfect.
So what's the most political song you've got then, and what's the political subject in question?
So I would, it's also unfortunately very prescient, is Dress the Kids for War.
Yeah.
Which was re-released just after Christmas. How very Christmassy. Here's our song about war. So it's basically about the difference between being conscripted. Poor kids get conscripted and sent off to die, and the more wealthy, strangely stay at home and are cosseted, and give them positions of power and safety. So yeah, very very strange listening to
it's
it
something
now.
I feel pretty strong about this, because I mean the school I went to, basically it was a school in a council estate in Nottingham, and we were all pretty much told that we were complete failures, we'd go nowhere, and they really really pushed the military on us big time. And it's just like kind of one of the things about working class kids is that they're told that really they've got very little option apart from to join the military. I mean, it's okay if you want to join the military, but if you're not given a choice. I mean, the school I went to, I'd say 90% of the kids in my year went into the army cadets. And it's like it's just that whole idea. I mean, it reminded me a little bit of the song by Kate Bush, Army Dreaming. It's kind of got a connection in my mind to that. Nothing musically, but it's the same theme. It's the idea that working class kids are generally the ones that are drafted in first and put into the most dangerous position with the least amount of power and control. And it's just indicative of how our society, we're supposed to live in a democratic society, but in reality, we still live in a very much stratified society based on money and position and power. And that will always go on, and it always will go on while we still have the class system. Sorry.
No, that's entirely the sort of thing we want.
I'll take my sociologist hat off now.
I know. I mean, obviously, that's the sort of thing we want, because we need to know the sort of principles of the band and so forth. I mean, though there's very few bands that would take a contrary stance to that, I'm sure. But yes, of course, they do exist. But I probably wouldn't be talking to them.
No.
And P.S. by the way, I don't know if you know, but
standing outside their gigs and waiting for them to come outside and speaking to them very seriously.
Would you write songs about Cthulhu though, and ghosts as well?
Yeah.
What if Cthulhu was conscripted though? And P.S. by the way, if you can possibly move down a little, your sort of top of your head is cutting off. Or move back. That's better. There, just so we can see you a little more. There we go. Something along those lines, anyway. And obviously, we want to see our glamorous guests. That's an important thing. So it's interesting.
Other guests coming on.
It is interesting, I think, also with Chaos Bleak, with the live thing, how it looks like Justin is some kind of satanic monk or something on stage quite often, with his sort of rather spooky looking bass guitar, he's some strange demonic figure on stage, which is quite excellent there.
Satanism is all good. We like Satanism. Yeah, it's all
Nothing
good.
wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's all good.
Satanism, anyway.
See, that's a sort of deliberate choice then, you think, and obviously you can't necessarily speak for him, but it definitely going for the whole sort of spooky Satan monk thing there.
Yeah,
and you think it's good to have that kind of theatricality to the live thing.
We like it.
Yeah.
I think you've
also in a black metal band, which is the full on corpse paint type stuff. So he's not shy.
He's involved in lots of bands, really.
Not shy about looking good.
And he definitely has loads of stage presence. I mean, I think quite often you can get bass players who sort of add that extra sort of flamboyance on stage. And I think of the likes of Belly. When I saw them on Jules Holland, the bass player was sort of perhaps the most exciting one on stage. So do you think he's making up for anything? Just trying to compensate? And he's only got 4 strings to play with there.
On the journey up to a gig, and then he just lets rip. It's like a dog. Puppy. Excited puppy being let out for a wee in the morning.
I'm sure he'll love that description.
Yeah. Thinking that through.
So it's been a pretty successful project by the looks of things with Chaos Bleak, because you seem to always get a good audience in Nottingham, and you've been booked for Goth City 2 years in a row now. So as the sort of the way it's people have taken to it surprised you at all? Or did you just know? I mean, you're both veterans of the goth scene, so you should know what you're doing by now, I guess.
All three of us are veterans.
I think there's a danger in saying I'm not surprised, because that would sound conceited. But I do
just
think
own it, you know.
Well, obviously we're brilliant. But I do think we fill a hole that probably people didn't realise was there.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we're fit, you know, we've sort of appeared and we've got this fully formed sound and look.
Mm.
And I mean, I think we've got some very strong material, and on stage we are brilliant. Sorry. So yes, I do think that we've paid our dues in our previous bands, I think, and learnt our craft, and for me, it feels like we're getting the recognition that is probably we've been due a long time. And I think that's coming from both the UK and abroad. And so it's very nice to get like feedback from people across the world who do connect with what we're saying and do enjoy our music. So I think the internet has been a particularly good tool for Chaos Bleak.
So where from abroad have you been getting?
I'd echo that. I think that really the whole idea is we've paid our dues. We've learnt our craft. We know our subject. And I think that really, you know, somebody once said is that you're the sum total of all of your influences. And I think that's absolutely true. I mean, it's like a couple of months ago, you know, we played a gig at basically a metal event in Southport. And we were a little bit concerned about how we'd go down, because obviously we're very much used to the goth culture and goth scene, and we understood that. And we were playing like basically a metal event, and we went down an absolute storm. And
I did. First thing we did when we came on, I did announce us as goths just to see like the bottles are going to come now.
Yeah. No, they were lovely. That was a lovely gig, and the people were fantastic. They were a fantastic gig and fantastic people, and we went down so well. They just took us to the hearts, and I suddenly thought, we ought to play some metal gigs as well, really.
As I say, I felt there was that sort of metal element to what you do, and certainly when you've got Justin there, he sort of feels very metal sort of influence to things. But yeah, I felt there was definitely that thing going off there.
Yeah,
and
I believe it's really weird because we don't see it. We don't see it. We just kind of write. I mean, if you actually listen to Chaos Bleak songs in depth, they're actually really pretty electronic. It's just the guitar and bass over the top and vocals.
Yeah.
And the whole sort of force and impact of Chaos Bleak that makes people think that it's metal. If you actually heard the backing tracks or the guitars, it sounds really like kind of 90s, like a 90s goth, electro goth, really. But that's what I'm saying, is we're a mixture of different things, you know? And I think that
I think any song though needs to be both powerful in its lyric and delivery.
Yes. Yeah.
Full of melody and be danceable.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with dancing.
Huge riffs.
Having a good time.
Yeah.
You know, finding out about, I don't know.
I mean, Justin and I, we're basically sort of riff monsters. Both of us. We just are naturally.
Yeah.
And I think it just really works together really, really well.
I think if I remember correctly, you possibly mentioned at some point in the past that there's a certain space rock element as well.
Definitely is.
Yeah, so where does that come in, the space rock element, and who are the sort of space rock influences in?
Hawkwind.
I think it's kind of pretty obviously me. The album that changed my life, absolutely changed my life, was Space Ritual. If you haven't heard it, listen to it, because there is no other album like it, no other Hawkwind albums like it. And when I heard it, when I was 15 years old, and say the school I went to, people weren't particularly into rock music as such, and they certainly weren't into weird music like this. But I've always been into science fiction and horror big time, whether it's films or books or whatever. And when I heard Space Ritual, it just literally blew my head off. And I just thought, the first time, right, I want to do this. I want to do music like this that's got huge riffs and otherworldly sort of synths and stuff like that. And so Hawkwind, specifically Space Ritual, is a massive influence on me. But also I'm influenced a lot by an American band called Chrome, who vary between sort of electronic, sub pre-goth, and just experimental psychedelia. So and that space rock thing is definitely comes from me. And every now and again it kind of rears its head.
And I picked up
There's
some
nothing wrong with that,
random
that's good
vinyl
stuff.
some time ago, and Chrome was in there with Blood on the Sun, which I'd no idea what I was going to
fantastic.
get with it,
Very
but
much.
I listened to it and thought that is absolutely fantastic. So I can certainly
Yeah, brilliant.
understand.
I know exactly. Blood on the Moon.
Yeah.
It's probably the album Third from the Sun, and then there's Blood on the Moon. There's 2 albums, but they're both fantastic, mate.
Yeah, I definitely need to check out more of them. That Blood on the Moon was absolutely fantastic, and it sort of is a bit goth, but not goth.
Yes,
Sort of.
precisely.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's.
They're definitely an influence on us.
So
Yeah,
we've got.
Chrome are a massive influence on me, particularly sort of like the later period stuff they did, like which other album is it? I mean, the Blood on the Moon and Third from the Sun. That's kind of more guitar orientated and quite dense, but I love it. And then they did an album. What was it called? Red Exposure. There's a couple of tracks on there which are fantastic. But yeah, I mean, then there's a solo album by the singer Damon Edge called Alliance, and it's one of my favorite albums of all time. And it's got the best drum sound that I'd heard in the 80s. And again, that was an influence on me, and I think it's an influence in Chaos Bleak when I program drums particularly. Anyway, yeah. So space rock stuff comes from me, Derek.
We have a question from the audience of what would be your dream cover version to tackle.
Piers.
Me, Double Dare by Bauhaus.
Oh yeah.
And I say that specifically because that was the first goth song I actually heard. That song got me into this scene, so it means a lot to me. Also, I grew up about 20 miles away from Northampton, and unbeknownst to me and my mate who also listened to it, his brother had been their hairdresser. So I strangely feel an affinity with Bauhaus, and that kind of, they were very cutting edge. They were.
You don't really hear many people covering them, do you? I guess it's pretty difficult to cover Bauhaus.
I think they're actually very difficult to get right.
Yeah,
it's easy to get it wrong. You know, anybody can bash out something on a piano and a keyboard and sound terrible. I think to do them justice, you need to get it right. And so for me, it'd be Double Dare, just because that song just means so much.
It's weird that question came up because just before lockdown, we were kind of talking about, because you probably know we've done a couple of covers.
Yeah.
You know, we did famously we cover Requiem, which we play live, and we will play next Friday, by the way. And we also did sort of Walk Away by Play Dead. And then the next EP we did cover versions of bands that we used to be in. We did an Every New Day Ghost song and a 13 Candles song. And we were thinking of continuing this idea. And one of the ideas we were talking about was maybe doing 3 covers of the first songs that were important to us. And obviously Piers says Double Dare. Justin was saying that he was thinking about us doing, what was it? Sorry? Boys That Cry, yeah. And I want to do, and I've actually recorded the backing track for it, Down Through the Night by Hawkwind, because that was the very first song I ever learned to play on guitar. But we haven't got around to doing that yet because we're busy with other things.
We've got so much other stuff to do. We've got
we've got in the wings. We've probably got about 4 or 5 unreleased songs finished. I think I need to check. And then we've got sort of about 8 we're working on in various stages. At least 8.
Yeah.
So question.
What we do when we write, we don't demo stuff together.
No.
Trevor sort of come up with sort of an amorphous kind of like, this is the melody, this is the sort of the kind of the sound.
I come with the backing track and the guitar line.
I will add our bits to it. So songs are very much sort of built up layer by layer, rather than us all getting in a room.
Yeah.
Which is then we have to learn to play them live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting
when we're in
question.
Arcane Winter, we'd always write together. This is a different departure, which I think also adds to the sound. So you come with your own ideas, and you add those layers, and before you send it to the others, you have to be happy with your contribution.
Yeah, an interesting question I saw earlier on Facebook is, why do cover tracks? when you could just write new music, someone argued. But what's your feeling on why do a cover track? I know my reasons, but it's about you. So what do you think the reasons are for doing cover songs, rather than just cover songs of your own old material, but cover songs of other artists? Why do that?
I think it's good to showcase definitely your influences, and also, so I mean, for me, when we covered, let me think. So covering Walk Away, I mean that band means so much to me. It's like I want to pay my dues. I want to show my respect. It feels like the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're giving our spin on that, and we're sort of inhabiting a different space to the original while still paying homage to it.
Yeah.
Also, those songs are already written, so it's a good way to rehearse.
Yeah.
To do other people's material. It sort of, warms up your vocals, gets everything going, gets the juices flowing. And I think sometimes if you are seeing a band for the first time and you're not familiar with their material, however good they might be, I think a couple of cover versions in the set, it's familiarity. You're like, oh, fantastic. Or, oh, I like this band too. I like Ever Knew the Ghost. They were fantastic. So do you know what I mean? I think it helps draw in an audience.
You're sort of laying out your stall, aren't you? You're saying that this is where we come from.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thing. You're saying to the audience that, you like them. This is where we come from. This is who we are. So it's a form of, sort of semiotic communication, really, with the audience.
I think it's like telling a joke, isn't it? Or telling a story, telling a story you've been told before. When you retell it, you add your little layers to it. There's bits you add, bits you leave out, bits you forget, verses you add. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's just a nice way of communicating with people. And I think, like Trevor said, if you're seeing a band and they play a cover of a band that you're familiar with, we're saying to them, you like the same stuff as we do. We're the same. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it helps give that connection there, definitely. So anything else you want to add briefly before we wrap things up, as I think it's about covered most of the bases here, really?
Well, come to Shakespeare's on the 25th of March. Come and see Jan Doyle Band, Glasshouse Museum, and Chaos Bleak. You'll see Justin throwing some shapes.
Yes, we definitely look forward to it.
Demonic and scary. And definitely come down. We've got plug time. We've got a new EP coming out in April the 18th. Virus Shadow is coming out. There's a collection of our last few singles and some other songs as well. So look out.
Got a cover on it as well.
Chaosbleak.bandcamp.com, I assume.
Say again.
Yes, Bandcamp. So,
Chaosbleak.bandcamp.com.
Yeah, physical version. Download version.
So we look forward to that, and we look forward to having you along live. And of course, I'll be joining you in Nottingham.
I can't wait to meet you again, mate. It's going to be great.
I'll be joining you in Nottingham on Good Friday, or Goth Friday, as it's now been dubbed, of course.
Goth Friday, yes.
Goth Friday.
So, long Goth Friday. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, thank you both so much for your time, Piers and Trevor. It's a pleasure to have a talk to such eloquent and verbose guests who've always got such interesting things to say. So thank you very much, both of you, for your time, and let's hope we have a good night next week then. So I'll end this for now, and again, thanks so much, both of you, for joining us. It's been great to chat.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, and bye then.